Everybody, I've noticed something. It's not really about where you are. It's about who you are. You can't escape that. You can't escape who you are. No matter how many states you travel, no matter how many countries you fly to, no matter how far you run away from home, you're always that same person. Running from something that has already caught you. Because you are what you think about all the time. That unsuccessful mindset. That failure mindset. You going out there always thinking that you can't do something, because the weird thing about this life is that it's all mental. There's nothing in this world that can hurt you more than the thoughts you think. But there's nothing in this world that can heal you, rebuild you, shape you better than the thoughts you think. You can become more than what you are because you have more than what you have, than at least what you think you have. You could always become more. You could always transcend into something bigger, better, because you are what you think about all the time. We spend our entire lives trying to prove ourselves to the haters, silence the critics, prove our worth to our family, win back a lover. And we live like that for the rest of our lives, thinking that we're some kind of main character, thinking that we're trying to win some kind of trophy, that at the end of life that we'll get some kind of successful achievement. Perhaps you will. Perhaps you won't. But a big part of who you are is also who you are not. Whether you believe it or not, you're constantly changing. And I'm not even talking about on the outside. I'm talking about on the inside. Every single day you're shaping something different, forming a new opinion, rebuilding something that wasn't there before. In a sense, you're making something out of nothing. But as long as you know the shape of your soul, you're fine. As long as you know who you are. But that's the hardest thing inside this life. Figuring out who you are, why you're here, why you have any kind of purpose at all, and that's exactly why we think. And thinking leads to overthinking. But know this, everybody. Your thoughts mean everything. Okay? When I tell you that you are what you think about, it's true. Because what do thoughts lead to? Actions. And what do actions lead to? Behaviors. And eventually, behaviors will lead to a routine, and routines will lead to lifestyles, and lifestyle is exactly who you are. So when I tell you to protect what comes into here, like your life depends on it, defend it like your life like your life depends on it, dude, because it does. And I let constantly, even that stutter, anything, I let anything get me down. Anything. Whether that's meeting a new person, whether doing a new thing, and I end up not doing anything at all. I crawl back to the same spot, just to try to live, but I can't, because constantly, sometimes things get so bad, you have to remind yourself to breathe, to take a breath, to slow down, because sometimes you get caught up in it all, everything, life, change. What's weird about change? The only thing that I could tell you about this life is that the only thing that doesn't change is the fact that things change. Things are always going to be changing. Always. The people you're around, know this, everybody. When people come into your life, they are either going to change your life or you are going to change theirs. Say yes more often. You know, it might lead to a good story or a good time. You know, there really is no in between. You know, maybe you'll have an embarrassing moment, but things are really only embarrassing if you allow them to be embarrassing. You know, it's only embarrassing if you're embarrassed. You know, like I seen this one thing that, like, did you guys know that embarrassment, that word, it really doesn't even exist? Whoa. It doesn't even really exist in other countries. I don't even know. Maybe that's not true, but I think it could be. You know, I feel like some of this stuff is just made up. You know, I mean, all the things around you, the things that we call life, somebody no smarter than you or I invented them, you know, and gave them meaning, attached to reason. And now all of a sudden we believe that reason, we believe that thing. You know, my Nana told me something that actually really stuck with me for a long time. You know, she said the moment you decide to change your thoughts is the moment you decide to change your life. You know, because your thoughts are your life. Mentality, you know, you think it, believe it, achieve it. You know, if you could hold it in your head, you could hold it in your hands. You know, stop living in your head, stop living in your mind, live in the world. Realize that anything that you want, you can manifest and it can all come to fruition. Anything. All you have to do is get out there and do it. I made this saying myself. As long as you get out there and do it, you could do it. And I'm talking about anything. If you have seen another human being perform or do something in this life, there's no reason why you can't do it as well. Just get out there and do it. You know, and realize that you are what you think about all the time, or at least most of the time. You know, if you could change those failure thoughts into, you know what, maybe today won't be that bad. You know, not necessarily that you have to wake up excited, but you'll wake up prepared. You know, because confident people don't wake up thinking, oh yeah, today's gonna be a fantastic day, everything's gonna go right. No. They get up knowing that, yeah, maybe not everything's gonna go right today, but you know what? I'm gonna get out there, I'm gonna try anyway. You know, not every single person in this world is going to like me, but I will get out there and I will try anyway. You know, trust the process, trust yourself, and just go with the flow in life. You know, match your frequency. You know, stop living in a past that already happened. Stop living in a future that doesn't even exist. Live in the present. Live in the now. Stop focusing on what's next. Focus on what's now. You know, even I realized that anxiety is kind of just you being afraid of something you think you already know. You're not a fortune teller. You're not a predictor of worlds. You're not going to get it right every time. You know, when you go out there and not everything goes according to plan, not everything goes right, that's not called failure. It's called life. So get out there and live yours. You know, because there's one guarantee about this whole thing, is that one day it will end. You know, realize that your thoughts control everything. You know, you control your world. You know, so stop thinking so downly, so negatively. You know, because a negative mind will never create a positive life. You know? So listen to the birds, get outside, swing on a swing, or whatever this thing is. I don't even know. And just have fun. You don't have to work all the time. You don't have to stress yourself all the time. But realize that the house you buy is the house you repair. Your dream job is the job you stress over. And the person you marry is the person you fight with. You know, there's opposing sides to everything. You know, so that's why you gotta just enjoy what you got. You know, enjoy being alone because one day you won't be. Enjoy being with people because one day you'll be by yourself. You know, if you choose to be, I don't know. You know, just realize this is everything. You know, mind over matter every single time. And thank you guys for watching the content. You know, thank you guys for truly making my childhood dream of becoming a YouTuber actually a reality, you know? So I'm gonna keep on doing what I do, you know, making videos about how I feel in my life, about just my journey, you know, and anytime I figure something out, I want to relay that to you guys, you know? I mean, people ask me all the time, Matt, what are you doing on YouTube? What are you even doing here? What are you doing? What's your plan? I'm not even really too sure. You know, but I can tell you one thing. I just want to make the world a better place before I go. You know, and even if that is with just one extra video on the internet, one extra thing on the internet, or one extra person like myself advocating for everything that I do, even if that could change one person, you know, and don't think that we're here to change the world, because you're not here to change the world, okay? You're not here to be remembered. You're just here to simply feel it while you still can. Okay, so get out there and make your difference, okay? If it were all to be over right now, what is it that you are holding on to that you need the world to see? Stay positive. Enjoy your life. You know, and I guess I'll also just keep on doing whatever it is I do, you know, as we all will. You know, and don't think that your difference doesn't matter, because it does. You know, as long as it matters to you. You know, that's what a lot of people don't tell you. You know, that as long as what you're doing matters to you, you know, as long as it brings a purpose to you, then you're going in the right direction. All right? Peace out, guys.